Welcome to Partners in Health and Biz with your host, Wendy Meyeroff. Tune in every Saturday for great shows about obtaining and maintaining health, business, and finance. Learn from the experts here at PIHradio.net. And now, broadcasting from the Partners in Health and Biz studio, here's Wendy.
Hi again, folks. This is Wendy Meyeroff of Partners in Health and Biz, the Biz co-anchor, and thanks to my colleague and founder of the show, Gail Dixon, our wellness genius. This episode, I welcome David P. Shapiro, Esquire, a criminal defense attorney and the managing partner of the David P. Shapiro Law Offices based in San Diego, California. I got connected to David because in some other research for a possible health-related project, this reporter interviewed here found a giving back link on the David P. Shapiro website, and it has various scholarships offered related to health issues. So in fact, one I saw was a 2019 autism scholarship. Now what that means, why they do it, why anyone can and should provide certain gift giving even locally is what we're here to talk about. So thanks, David, and welcome to Partners in Health and Biz.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Okay, so it's very nice to tell people who you are, but tell them a little bit more about what you really do, what kind of legal services, for example, and then we'll talk about and how long you've been in practice, and then we'll talk about how you got into the donating type of thing.
Sure. I am the owner and managing partner of a criminal defense law firm in San Diego, and we help our good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime. Oh. We have been in business since 2010. And I've been an attorney in California since 2007.
Okay, so you got a little experience there.
Definitely.
So let's get to charity. And what I saw on your website, I mentioned autism, but I believe your practice offers more than one scholarship, yes?
Yeah, we've done, the last couple of years, we've done several scholarships, some related to health awareness, one of which being autism. We've done leukemia previously, as well as a general law school scholarship as well.
So how did this get started, and when, and why?
It started a couple of years ago, I want to say around 2015, 2016 or so. It was brought up to me, as my firm was growing and as we were adding staff and really impacting more and more people in the San Diego community and throughout Southern California, that it would be a good idea to, become more entrenched in the community and do some good with some of the resources that we have and the message and the viewership to our blogs, to our social media accounts and whatnot. And so we decided to budget a decent amount of money every year, every month to give back, whether it's in way of a scholarship for someone pursuing higher education, or whether it's in pursuit of, local charities or people that do good work in San Diego and pretty much throughout the country.
And so how did you decide which charities and to help, because we are talking to healthcare business geniuses. So what should they know if they're trying to figure out, do they give it to autism, do they give it to the 5-mile run for epilepsy or food banks? How do you choose?
Sure. Well, how I chose what to do was, the first one I think we did looking back was leukemia. I wanted to do something that, affected my family in some degree. My mom has been on and again, off again, battle with leukemia for as long as I can remember, since I was a teenager, and I'm 37, almost 38 now. Wow. So that was the reason why we chose leukemia. And then autism, the last couple of years, we wanted to do something that is really at the forefront and something that's becoming more and more acknowledged as something that families have to deal with and obviously have to go through, and to get treatment and get help, and to sort of empower these individuals that, hey, because you've been diagnosed, whether it's with autism or whether it's with cancer or whatever, is that there's people out there that still want to help you pursue your goals. And anything that we could do to facilitate that and to, give people a push, what they might need, to say, hey, I can't afford this, or I'm sick, or I don't think I could do it. We wanted to get that message out there that, yeah, you can, and we'll certainly help any way financially we can.
That's a wonderful message, because I know I've had people I've cared about and they've been struck with, let's say, ovarian cancer, or, pick any condition where, in fact, somebody in my religious group just found out he's been diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, and that's not something to look forward to. So, you always want to think of things that what obstacles are there and how can you help them. It can be a scholarship, but it could be other things, and we can talk about that in a minute. But it can be easy for a hospital or a big insurance group or places like this to offer donations. But what advice do you have if someone's a small practice, like a two-person primary, or they're even something that's not considered a practice per se, but they're in healthcare, like a local yoga instructor? How, on a tight budget, can they really do something like this?
Well, it depends. With us, it was pretty easy. The benefit of being what is now a 4 full-time employee law firm, including myself, is that we don't have 15 to 20 people to go through in order to get something approved for the budget. It's something that I discussed with my team and something that I looked at and ultimately signed off on, as the owner of the firm. And it's a small amount. We've done $1,000 scholarships. We've done 1 to 2 a year for the past couple of years. So if you work it into your budget over the course of a year and plan accordingly, it's really not a large amount. It's definitely something that you could do with enough planning and with enough discipline to put that money away and keep it away.
That's what I've been teaching people for years, because every time I've taught a class on marketing, and I say, how many people have a cell phone? And they all raise their hands. And I say, well, how many have a computer? They all raise their hands. If I ask, how many of you have done your marketing budget? They all stare at each other blankly. It's critical to establish budgets, and this is a charitable thing. You can eventually take it off of taxes, so why not plan it? I think you've laid it out very nicely, and whether it's $500, whether it's $1,000, if you can go up the ladder, that's wonderful, but just do some planning.
Yeah, without question. I think to have a budget and to have a business plan is essential in any business, no matter how small or how large, and I think that's the first step, and then you'll be amazed to see how you can move things around and tweak the budget a little bit to free up that space, whether it's cash for something in your office, something that you need to grow your business, or whether it's something like this where the primary purpose of it obviously is to help those who might not be able to get where they want to go in life without that help.
Are there any sort of legal things we have to understand, or is it just chatting with your accountant to see what you would have to offer as proof, or what might we have to know to get this done?
Well, a couple of things. First, obviously, listen, if we could get it as a tax write-off and a tax break for my firm, fantastic. But that's not obviously going to be the deciding factor whether or not we do it. Even if it's, hey, you can't write that off, we're still going to do it either way. But how we set it up is that we post the advertisement for the contest, so to speak, and we have a submissions deadline. So people will, follow the instructions, they'll submit their application, and then I have someone affiliated with my firm that narrows that down to a couple of applicants, and then I ultimately personally choose which applicant is going to be selected. And then we notify that individual, and we let them know that they should just send us a copy of their tuition statement from whatever, institute of higher education they're attending. And then what we do is I directly just cut a check from the business directly to that institution. So if someone goes to, I think we had someone at Oregon State University. I have no connection to Oregon, no connection to Oregon State. We receive the transcript and a billing statement with the applicant winners information on there. And then I just cut a check for $1,000 to that institution. So we have that paper trail linked up to the winner of the contest, and to verify that they're in fact in school. And the hope is that's obviously good enough to cover things, but if it's not, in reality, we do it either way.
So tell us a little bit more. What exactly do they have to submit to you? Is it an article? Do they send a video? How do they win a scholarship from you?
Sure. What we've been doing recently is we've been picking a topic. So say, for example, within the healthcare field, it was tell us in whatever it is, 250 to 500 words, how leukemia has affected your life, either directly, meaning that you were diagnosed with it or still have it, or has affected you specifically with a loved one, someone that you're close to. So, people have talked about how they've overcome their own struggles with the disease and how they beat it, how they're still struggling with it. And others have talked about, how parents or siblings or aunts or uncles or grandparents dealt with, and some of which unfortunately succumbed to the disease, and what they learned from it, and also to put in a portion about what they want to do with their higher education, meaning for what purpose is that going to serve if they know, because that's something that moves us as well. If it's something that we really think this person is really going to make the world a better place and make a difference in their lives and the lives of those around them, that gets them that much closer to being one of the finalists.
What made you decide to do it as a scholarship type of thing? Did you go out around talking to people, like maybe at the Leukemia Association? How did you get this figured out?
Well, I mean, we wanted to also generate some interest nationally as well, and help directly, as opposed to just donating to an organization. There are a lot of great organizations. American Cancer Society, there's a lot of great autism societies, local, nationally, at every level. But here we felt that this is a way where we could directly impact one person and really get to know a little bit about that person, as opposed to sending a check and then hoping it trickles down to a lot of people. I made the decision, as a managing partner here, that we wanted to affect one person's life directly and actually see that benefit come to fruition with one person.
Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. And, you mentioned the Cancer Society. I've worked with the Heart Association. It's nice when they have a recognizable name, but I want to remind our listeners that there are places like, I was just in an email with somebody from the National Organization for Rare Disorders, which is actually rarediseases.org online. When I was part of the conference last year for patient advocacy, we had people there, some you've heard of, like Crohn's disease, especially now that we have all the direct-to-consumer advertising. So things most people never would have heard of. Now it's all over TV. But there are others, it could affect 50 people. And in fact, for a certain amount, it gets very frightening. I urge people to look at things that a lot of folks are not donating to, because they're the ones always struggling, right?
Yeah, definitely. There's no such thing as a bad donation, but some of the stuff that you had just mentioned is certainly, I don't want to say underfunded, but certainly could use additional funding compared to some of the bigger organizations, without question.
Yeah, and check out the ones, we hear about ones that are always getting cut. We just had the whole news thing about the Special Olympics and how it was about to lose all of its funding. It's easier nowadays than when I first started 20 years ago to get all this information. You can go up online and punch in charitable contributions, and there are sites that will give you notices of people and how much money they get each year, and who you can see who gets great stuff and who might need more.
Yeah, without question. The internet is definitely our friend when it comes time to, you also have to do your research on top of it, to make sure that it's a legit and verified organization as well, because unfortunately there's a lot of people out there that prey upon the generosity of others.
Now, we've been talking about donating dollars, but what about donating things beyond money, whether it's driving people around or helping by making food for people or anything else, volunteer services? Those are things we need to remind people to quote-unquote donate as well, right?
Yeah, without question. Listen, it's better to do something than nothing, but the more stuff and the different mechanisms you could do to help people out in need is great. We have people on staff here that volunteer their time at a hospital a couple of days a week. The firm itself is done in addition to the scholarship, get involved with some local youth groups for athletic associations as well that try and, I don't want to use the word assimilate, but sort of to get people who are new to the country, particularly from East Africa, who come into the San Diego community, to get them involved in sports where they meet people, build up their confidence, to help them acclimate better with San Diego. We're very involved with the Ethiopian community here in San Diego as well, with whether it's donating soccer equipment or funding, uniform jerseys and participating in fundraisers in that regard, where we may not necessarily be contributing money ourselves, but are using whatever influence we have to get others who may be in a better position to really contribute to a good cause.
It's wonderful. I've had fun when I've done total volunteer work, pro bono as it's called, but when you're smart and you are a health business owner or any kind of business owner, you pick out carefully what you can do for free, how much time can you devote to something, and you just make smart moves, and you try not to do everybody will call you. Once you get started, everybody will call you and say, well, could you donate, another $1,000 in this scholarship, or could you volunteer 12 more hours as a big brother, sister, whatever. So you also have to know how to say no, right?
Yeah. That may be a product of talking about all the good stuff you do. More requests may come, but I guess that's a good problem to have. It gives you more of a pool to choose from, irrespective of whether you increase your budget for charitable donations or not. At least it gets more stuff out there and at your doorstep. It'll make it easier on us so we don't have to necessarily do the research to find a good cause. A good cause may very well come to us.
Oh, that's a good point. And I urge people when they're in a business, or especially when they're first starting, but even once they've started, there are all sorts of local networking options, and get to know people. And if you can't do something, I know when somebody comes to me, I've done all sorts of work in audio and infographics and other things, but I know where my line comes. So get to know other people, and then if it's something either you don't have time or you don't have the budget or it's not what you really do, you can refer them, and who knows how things build up from that.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely nothing to be ashamed of. As long as you're helping somebody, you can help somebody by donating clothes if that's what they need, and you can help somebody by pointing them in the right direction. So there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I can't help you, but instead of just hanging up the phone and wishing you good luck, here's someone who might be in a better position and more adept to handle